are again in the studio with another episode of Chatting with Charlie. And this one's a very, very special professional episode today. Today we have Nyasha. I'm not going to say too much about Nyasha. We're going to start and we're going to flow into this. This is going to be a bit of a different episode where we are very precise in what we talk about. We are going to flow because we're chatting with Charlie and Charlie flows. But we are also going to use this as a great opportunity for us to be able to describe what we're doing in our work professionally, what services that we offer, where we are heading, at least for this year, and everything else in between. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Nyasha, or you might hear me call him Ash.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie, for introducing me. Hi, guys. Yeah, call me Nyasha or Ash for short. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to chat with you, Charlie. This has been a long-term thing that you've been discussing that you wanted to do. So the fact that you've graciously invited me as a guest on your show is very much appreciated.
Thank you for being here, bro. It's a pleasure. So I'll start off with this. I'm having a lot of fun working with Nyash. And the reason I'm having so much fun is because I say this all day on meetings. I really look to develop strong relationships. I focus on longevity. And I really, really appreciate scaling with someone. And what that normally requires is a hell of a lot of personal development, a hell of a lot of personal growth, because people run businesses. Businesses aren't these things that just float around and happen. It's always a result of the people. So there's been an absolute buzz actually over the last, what has it actually been, Ash? Specifically, since we actually switched on professionally and Wisdom Culture merged with One Studio. How long would you say that is?
I would say now officially. I mean, we started having this chat. We started chatting, I think back in December or late November. And that was kind of like us planting the seeds for what we're doing now. But it was only, I mean, your memory is better than me here because we were just chatting about it the other week. You mentioned something had happened or something. I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what was up, but I think it's just naturally just grown into what it was. We both had the drive of saying, you know what, we wanted something better. We were discussing about our dreams and, you know, how we're going to go traveling and, you know, just be free. And that developed into, hey, look, let's work together. But I really like it. The fact that I can't remember it means that it's been just a very much an organic building. It's just been organic, really. So
if I had to say professionally,
yeah,
because last year we did a hell of a lot of work together through the Circle of Arms organization, which is an arm wrestling league.
yeah.
And while we were working together, I didn't really understand what was going on in the ins and outs and how really One Studio ran its business, but I understood it as the work that I saw. And I was always curious to get inside, a bit more inside what the studio was, right? Where was Ash operating from? What is this studio? What is he doing? Where does his time go outside of what we're doing here with this Circle of Arms project? And I'd say I knew it was a matter of timing. Everything's about timing, and it's about letting, for me specifically in my work, people that I look to work with, there's a lot of outreach in this game, especially in this money Twitter space, in this online entrepreneurship, where people are constantly reaching out and pitching their service. Now, I might plant seeds, but I'm a guy that likes to not do that because it doesn't resonate with me as much. And I do appreciate the hustle, but I like to let people come in their own way. And that's definitely what happened with us, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Very well put. And that's also how I like to form relationships. I don't like to go in head first and say, I'm gonna be your friend because I can imagine us working together and you can make me money and I can make it. I don't like that shit, man. It seems very, very ill-intentioned. That's just me. I like for the relationship, especially with people who I'm very much working with and who I like, I want that to just grow. I want to, because me and you, Charlie, have known each other now for I think a year. So the fact that we went through April, first met you in April when we did the Circle of Arms event. So April, May, June, July, August, September, November, all of that without actually discussing any form of business. And then it came to about December. And even then, it took like maybe even another month or so before we officially started working together. That just solidified. I feel like I know you as a person. You know me as a person. We both have similar principles and similar values, which it makes us very easy to just work with each other naturally. So that's the perfect relationship, like work relationship that I love with like with people. And it's very rare to find people like that. So props to you, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That actually rings so true. It's that we haven't really even known each other a year, but the closest relationships I have right now are in working relationships, and specifically with what we did to make it official. This is where I really come in, right? This is what wisdom culture truly does, where people are running a great service. They're also very skilled, very skilled. I like to find people that are already making money, doing something that they're passionate about, that they love. But for some reason, they aren't able to optimize, slipstream, organize, systemize, and everything else, what they're doing as a business. So even through the transaction of beginning to work with me, what can you explain to people what that was like when we really started to step away from Circle of Arms as more of a, like, to be honest here, like Circle of Arms is really like a heart and soul passion project. It's not
Mm,
necessarily a business entity that we are able to pull good energy exchange from when that comes to finance and money, because arm wrestling isn't booming and
mm,
there's not much money in the sport, and because of the nature of the grassroots company.
mm,
But when we start to look at clients that are ready to pay for websites,
mm,
music videos, photography, whether that's, I won't go into the nature of all the different types of what that is, but what was the
mm.
difference? What actually changed for you that you noticed when we partnered officially?
Yeah. I think to answer that question, it is also worth mentioning to start from the beginning on my journey of how I became what I am. So a quick rundown. I've always been into photography and videography um, ever since I was a kid. I picked it up in 2011 and was doing well, had a little buzz, but then life got in the way. I was young, did a lot of dumb shit, and can we curse on? Can we
Of
curse?
course we can.
Okay, cool. So did a lot of dumb shit when I was young, as does everybody. Well, it's only natural, but I left it for a few years. I left it for a few years, and it was only until when it was 2020 when lockdown happened, when you had all the time in the world, you binged every show, um, and you're awake at like 4 o'clock, knowing that tomorrow's just going to be another same day. So but it just sort of got tiring. I felt depressed. I was with a friend said, and I expressed it to him. I said, man, I just feel like, man, I'm just heading nowhere really. I don't have anything I'm passionate about. And he questioned me, said, look, why don't you just do what you love? What do you love doing? I said, well, I love videography, but I haven't done it in about what 7 or 8 years. And he goes, well, just do it then. Buy a camera and just go out and do it. And I gave him excuses, and he basically gave me a kick up the ass to say, bro, shut up and just go and buy a camera. Like, don't talk to me till you buy a camera. And I love that because it kind of gave me an ultimatum. It's kind of like that tough love type of thing, in it.
Mm.
So I ended up buying a camera, started doing some work, and from there. So fast forward last year, back in July, I quit my job because at the time I wanted to find something different. I was working in telemarketing, being on the phone, and I can remember the exact day that I quit. It's like 10 o'clock. Started the day. 5 minutes in, I was getting leads. Do you know what I mean? Thinking I'm doing a lot of work. Looked up at the time, and only 20 minutes had gone past, and that's depression. I think that is what depression is, because I never really experienced depression, but depression, as I can see it, as how I comprehend it, that's what I felt like. Just like that sinking feeling, like,
Crashing.
oh, I got 7 hours, and I got tomorrow and the next day and the next day and then the weekend. Then I'm coming back again. So I was just disoriented when I felt that, like that, because I was already going through a lot of things like moving and a lot of personal issues. So that didn't help. So I just said to myself, no, that's it, done. So I left that job, knew that, okay, cool. I was actually not planning to go in full time. It was actually a decision that I made, because I was like, well, you haven't got really any commitments. You're on your own. You're still young. Now's the best time to do it. If you're going to do it, this is the best time to do it. And if you crash and fail, then you could always go and get another job. But if you don't take this path right now, it's almost like I felt like another responsibility will replace this one. So I ended up choosing that. And then, so I've been July full time, was working with Charlie, working with Circle of Arms and everything like that. But that's the thing. It's very, very difficult. And I think where Charlie really helped me was that he was able, we found that a lot of the clients that I had originally had before, I was operating under a mentality of, like, would you say, Charlie, it was like I was just doing it just to get paid. I didn't really cause too much. I didn't really give my opinions, because as a full time, I was like, let me just go with whatever and make sure I get paid at the end of the month so I can pay my bills.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would also see it as, and this is the nature of how we speak daily. We're on Discord daily, and we have these conversations, and they are deep. And this is a great insight, actually, because for me to give this answer, honestly, I have to do what I normally do, which is give the deeper answer, which is, yes, you're in a position where you're like, right, I need to get paid, right? There's like a rush in your mind. You're rushing. You're not slowing down to actually look at, hold on a minute. No one's got a gun to my head right now. Let me take my time in the decisions that I make and assess the situation. And that's normally because we've got so much other stuff going on. But really, I would say every entrepreneur, every business owner, everyone that needs to go through a certain element of growth has to go through this stage where they don't know their worth, they don't understand their value, and they figure it out by really becoming sick of not being paid enough, of always problems on certain jobs, and being stressed and working your fucking ass off and not really having anything to show for it. And I don't know how real and how much you want to disclose here, but I know there was a significant change in your life when there was a moment, and I won't go into it, but I'm hoping telepathically you understand which moment this was, where you had done nothing but work. You had been doing everything to, let's call it, hustle. And still, these life events were occurring. These, you know,
Mm.
these events,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
those events really are pivotal moments. And you're welcome to kind of extend on this if you can feel what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary. I think we owe that to the audience or anybody who's watching to, you know, to be real. To be real. One of those situations Charlie is talking about is that it was actually earlier this year, around January time, you know, and working with clients, and you know, I was full time. I was just in that mode of just work. But this is where Charlie's so right, because it feels like you're working, but you're not actually getting results. There's a difference between, you know, working and then thinking that you're actually working, you know, because it's all down to results at the end of the day. And that was me at that time thinking that. And I remember my landlord for the first time in my life, because I've been living by myself now for about 3 years. Two, you know, 2.5 of those 3 years now has been with a steady job and you know, steady income coming in. But here in January, it came to a point where it's like my landlord, I was like 6 days away, uh, past my due date for my rent, and my landlord knocked on my door, and I was hiding from him. I was hiding from him, like, you know, he hadn't contacted me at all, and I was like avoiding it, thinking, man, my rent is due, and could not find the money for some reason. It was like nothing that I was doing. You know, clients weren't paying me. I had already finished work and done the work, but you know, they weren't paying me. They were saying, "Oh, we'll pay you later," or just straight up avoiding me. Do you know what I mean? And that moment when my landlord knocked and said, "Where's the rent?" It just felt like a low point. It's like, damn, is this how it's gonna be from now on? It's like I'm literally just scraping just to pay my rent, let alone my bills. You know what I mean?
mm,
So that's the reality of um being an entrepreneur. It's confronting those problems, especially when you go full time and you take that step and take that leap of faith in in um in believing what you're doing and not relying on a steady income. There's a lot of you won't experience exactly what I experienced, but there is that level of like, damn, like this is what all the other entrepreneurs were saying. Like when you read up on people who say, oh, they were, you know, living on the streets or living in on this, and they had to go through some form of, you know, tribulation. It's like my tribulation was there. I was like,
mm.
oh, this is it. This is finally it. You know what I mean? But that was one of the instances that really just made things a lot more clearer, to say, look, you need to get your things in order. Something has to change, you know.
Mm. Yeah, and to stay connected on that.
Mm,
That was the moment where you realize you're working just for money, right?
mm,
This is what you said. That's like tip of the iceberg, working just for money.
mm,
Just, remember we spoke about just. We use the word just when we justify things.
yeah, yeah.
And yet the money still wasn't there to pay bills.
Mm,
And that kind of rat race stress. And we, let's take this to a higher dimension here. We speak about conversations that the let's just say the average man doesn't speak about, right? Because we actually talk about what we're ambitious about. We're actually getting after it. We're actually putting the work in. We're actually, you know, every single day looking to better something that we're doing.
mm,
And we have to go through these tribulations for sure before you get to a point where you really realize what it takes. And I actually think this episode would be great to talk about many moments like that
Mm.
and significant changes. But when that did happen, although it seems like, everything's going down the pan, that's actually the almost the most rewarding experience that you can have for you
Mm.
for actually to propel yourself in the direction of where you need to go. And that must have been around a similar time. Let's kind of catch us up to speed. It was probably about 3 months ago. And when we officially started working with one another. So that
Yeah.
probably captivated something for you to open up. And this is a big thing with many people. I deal with this all the time. We deal with this in clients in Zoom calls. People have a trust issue.
Yeah.
The issue is always trust. Like, how can I trust this person? What are they going to do? How are they going to, are they going to take my profits? Are they going to run my business? I've had so many bad experiences working with people. And we slow down. We actually go, it's not like that at all. It's
Mm.
actually the very opposite. This is the ultimate reset. This is the ultimate refreshing way to
Mm.
do business.
Yeah.
And
Agree.
recently, Nyasha, what I said to you was like, let's talk about. I was in the bath actually. I was in the bath when I was having this conversation with him, but we was talking about in a certain significant scenario. One of them of what needed to happen in order to grow and improve in how you was currently doing business. And what was that answer I gave you, if you recall what I'm talking about here?
Mm. Yeah, this one was a powerful one that I wrote it down. Mm. You said you said that I needed to die.
Die.
Mm. I needed to die. And I remember there was a slight pause. When you said that, there was a moment of silence, just to absorb that, you know. Although I was shocked, but I sort of understood exactly what you meant when you said that. You said, you need to kill your past self, man. You need to kill your past self, all the things that all the things that you've done, all the beliefs, all the way you've done things in the past before, how you even look at yourself as a person, that needs to die. You need to let that shit go. You need to say, do you know what? How I did things is not how I'm gonna do it. How I thought about things is not how I'm gonna do it. Um, how I reacted is not how I'm going to do things. And it's actually crazy because in the beginning of your statement there, you mentioned how those moments where some form of catastrophe happens or something bad happens, it's almost like a blessing in disguise. That's exactly how I felt regarding that. It was a weird place to be because it's like I knew that there was some change coming. I knew that like once this landlord comes in, knocks on my door and asks me for rent, that means I'm in a place where it demands change. And I've not really been in that situation before where it's like I've had a comfortable life, you know what I mean? My rent has always been paid months in advance. I've always had, food in the fridge. I've always had, everything. It's always just been comfortable. Now, this this threat, this immediate threat to say, look, mate, if you don't pay, these are the consequences. There's always something that you can do about the situation in that sense, but it was just the fact that I'd never been in that situation before. So when you said like, oh, I had to die, I was like, yeah, I had to really look at where I was in the place where I was at the time and think, nah, something needs to change. Something, this ain't working. You know, I'm getting the same results. Nothing's changing at all. And now it's actually things are going to getting worse. So I really did appreciate that when it said, but this was when you actually said this quite recently.
Mm-hmm.
This was around about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
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 But this has been a metamorphosis change. It's been a gradual change of, okay, cool, out with the old, in with the new type of thing. You know what I mean? So but I do remember that before my landlord came to my door and said, "Where's the rent?" Other things were happening. A lot of personal shit was happening then. Do you know what I mean? So it was on a downward spiral. Uh, I can't. I was so determined to get a change that I said to myself, "Look, mate, I'm not eating. I'm not eating till I see some change."
Literally,
Uh,
right? Like is
yeah,
that where you went on a very, very long fast?
yeah, because I was like, I knew I had fasted before. I fasted before, and some people do it, through their own through their own journey or their own reasoning or whatever. For me, I did it before, but I said to myself, look, I need some form of change, and I'm willing to do anything. Um, and I just got inspired to fast. Inspired to fast for 14 days, where I said, look, I'm not touching any food. Um, I'm doing a deep cleanse on my stomach. I'm doing a deep cleanse of my heart. I'd stopped vaping. At the same time, I started fasting. My diet was changing. You know what I mean? I made all these decisions all at the same time. And this is when I was the third day I was going to Switzerland. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
had to go through that without eating any food. But it's actually funny because when the fasting had stopped is when things really, really, really just started changing. Like, I just felt renewed. My mind and my body was like just rested now. You know what I mean? You know.
Mm. Yeah, I really appreciate the tone of what we're touching on, which is really, it is rebirthing, and you
Mm,
can rebirth yourself. And well, even just to keep it simple, when you rebirth yourself, and people are like, "What does that mean? What does that mean?" In a nutshell, when you're identifying in a certain way, I this, I that, I do business this way. No, I do it like this. I'm not sure of that. I. You really fabricate this fairy tale around yourself, this story in your mind of how things are. And
mm,
it's difficult to perceive a change. It's difficult to perceive, or how do I get into this pad that I'm sat in right now, this $1 billion penthouse, right? How do I
mm,
get there? How am I going to get there if I'm in one place and I can't afford my rent? Or how am I going to get there when really I'm doing everything possible? Well, you need to kill that version that isn't working.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
people to really link this into mental health, what people understand mental health as is this depression. You even spoke about it at the start, but really mental health is spiritual atrophy, where your
Mm,
spirit is weak. It's weakened because you're trying to do the same thing in your mind when your
mhm,
spirit's dying,
mm,
literally dying to change.
yeah.
And what needs to die is the idea, the ego, the mind, the way you see things, the way you think about things, how you perceive yourself, in order for the spirit to begin moving again. Oh,
Mhm,
okay, I'm gonna do this new, because once I've detachment in my mind of what I've been doing, wow, there's a universal law here. If I clear space, something else will fill it.
yeah.
And the key thing here as well is recognizing that will perpetuate infinitely, right? That will forever go on as a process. We will never escape that. So when you get really accustomed to it, you learn to detach super quickly and keep it moving. How much do we say that to each other in our working day? Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. I'm even clicking. There's
Mhm,
something in that. And bringing this up to like where we actually operate our business now at a different level, and we're able to achieve more with more time, more energy, more mental space, more kind of ability to put our attention on the only thing that matters, which is our work.
mm.
What can you give people an insight to the inevitable things that will have to happen? Like, can you give up an example recently, Ash, where you've really recognized that, oh, okay, when I go into a different direction of growth, that's best for me and my business, unfortunately, yes, these things are going to happen. You know, it comes with these sacrifices, right? Can you name any sacrifice that you've had to make specifically? You spoke about food and fasting, but really, I want to knuckle down in relationships. Anything you've had to do with previous working relationships, previous people projecting an idea onto who they think you are, anything you've had to do specifically in order for you to spread your wings and fly, my man.
I think there's two instances there. I think there's two instances where it's like I've had to sacrifice my past self. The past self, when I mentioned that I used to do videography and photography back in 2011, 2010, 2011, 2012. I used to have a team. I used to have a team. I was very outgoing. I was very, very much a people person. And I used to like bringing just people together, you know. But at the same time, because I had such passion for bringing people together, not many people have the same level of passion. Relationships get involved, and you start to build relationships, and people don't come through, but on their promises to you, and it's very, very disappointing. And when you go through that again and again and again, every time it's like it takes a piece out of you. It's like, oh gosh, I don't want to go through that again. And then it happens again, and it gets a little bit worse, and to the point where you don't trust people. You don't trust people. You don't want to work with people because you've been burned so many times in those important, you've got to come through moments. Like, yo, this is serious. You've got to come through here. But you've experienced that again and again and again, where they have not come through. So that obviously had an effect on how I looked at things when I started doing videography and photography. So I thought that at one point, especially when I started going full time, that I could do things by myself. I said, oh, let me just do things by myself, man, because the only person who understands what I want is me. And that's how I'm going to look at it. If you want the job done, do it yourself. That's how I looked at it. But then you find that there's so much you got to do by yourself. Like, woof, gosh, especially the things that I want to do. It's like you touched on web design, photography, and videography, and building a studio. I mean, it's automatically working with people. Got to be a people person, you know. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I'll find a way to do it all by myself. And and then when I get to the top, that's when I will hire people and everything like that. But no, I had to let that thought go. I had to just say, do you know what? This is not working. Me doing everything by myself, everything, the videography, the photography, the editing, the sound design, the web design, the the revisions, just juggling multiple clients all at once and trying to get paid and trying to pay all my bills all by myself. I looked at things and I said, nah. So I think it's the emphasis of knowing that you can't do everything yourself, and you need that team. You need that team. If somebody can do something better than you, and you can find a way to work with each other in the most productive way possible, then yeah, partner up. It's all about relationship building. So I've had to sacrifice that. I can do it by myself. Sentiment there. And secondly, yeah, it's also the fact that I've had to look deep. I've had to look deep inside of myself and figure out why I'm the way I am. You know what I mean? And it's ugly. It's an ugly process, sometimes to be able to do that, because you look at yourself and think, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect. It's other people that's that's wrong. If that person didn't, only had came through, then I wouldn't be in this position. Or if this happened, I would have been. but it's actually taking accountability for everything, and knowing that some way, shape, or form, it is your fault. And the way you look at things really has an impact on how you go about it. You can either look at it as a negative, or you can try and find some positive in it. So I have had to sacrifice my old self in the sense that, like, I've had to take responsibility. I've had to look at my dark side, the things that I have done, and what I have done in the past that's brought me to here. So those are the two things.
Those are big things, man. And as you were speaking, I feel I'm going to engage with the audience here. So for the listeners, people that are tuning in and hearing this and kind of riding this story and wave with us, we recorded an episode for Chatting with Charlie. I'd say a fortnight ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
And the reason we've decided to do this is because things change so quickly.
Mm.
And already there's an example of that version of myself 3 weeks ago. And, you know, although it was a great conversation, it was like, it doesn't actually represent where we're at now. And this kind of brings me up to the pace in which things move when you really start to clear space. But to bring in some tangibles, to speak some plain layman term English, what has enabled your business? One studio before, one studio with Ash, and the experiences that we've, you know, we're swimming through here. And I think many people will be able to relate to, because we understand that it's actually most people are operating their business at this level. They're either conscious of it or they're not conscious of it. But either way, the results are diminished by the results of the lack of structure, the lack of team, the lack of clarity, communications, all the basic things. So what has changed in a simple way, even strategically wise? What do you do differently now that you're actually just with one other member of your team, i.e. me in this case?
Things are 100% different when working with you. I found out that my strengths are with the whole creative side. That's where I've learned in more to my strength, instead of trying to learn every aspect of business and being a creative all at the same time and grow a business and, go through everything else at the same time. It's like, okay, no, okay, Nyasha, like focus on what you're good at. Lean into that's because that's what's earning you money. People like you for doing X. So why don't you improve X? And this is where you really came in, and I'm very thankful that you did, because when you came into the picture, you looked at my business and said, okay, we need a system in place. So we need to, it's like, okay, we need to demolish this house. We need to demolish everything, just clear everything. No, I don't care how much you built. Yep, you want a second floor and a third floor, it doesn't matter. Knock it down. And I'm like, wait, but you're like, no, trust me, you need to do this. It's a process. You need to just knock everything down. And so for you, you really came in and actually helped me systemize everything, and the fact that we had the same principles and the same morals and the same values, that just made it easier to then just to work with each other and just to connect on that level there. Did I answer your question?
Somewhat, yeah. Systems is like, many people are like, what is a system? What truly is a system? So maybe extend on your answer and say, what would a system be for people?
Yeah, for system, for me, in the sense, is that, like I said, I'm very, very creative. I like to just get in and do the photography and videography and the editing. But the business side of things is where I was very, very unfamiliar with, and I wasn't very confident. So what Charlie would came in to be able to do in this sense was that he looked at some of my past clients. He looked at some of the people who I've been working with, and some of the clients that we were taking on board, and said, okay, cool. What we need is a way of doing things. So instead of just me texting on WhatsApp business and pricing and everything like that, so it's just like, no, wait, we need a professional email. Okay, we need a professional email. We need invoices. We need a service menu, a menu of what we can, of services that we can provide. We need a Zoom call. We need to be able to chat to these people. First thing, if anybody's inquired, we're not talking to them on text. We are linking them on a Zoom call, and we are going to use that to question and see what they want and get to know them as a person, really for us to see if we want to work with them, instead of us saying, yeah, please work with us, we need the money, rent is you know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
So, you know, so literally the value that you brought into One Studio. And I remember most of the clients, that the past clients and some of the clients, the newer ones, were very, very impressed of how professional we were. And that spoke volumes to me, because that gave me confidence. I was like, oh snap, I don't need to beg anymore to pay my bills. Like I can really see the value of what I'm bringing here. Do you know what I mean? It's like I had the creative side done. People were happy with that, but more importantly, the business side also was needed to be on the same level. Now that Charlie has come in with his Wisdom Culture company, and assisted One Studio here, we are seeing tremendous growth in this past month. It's been crazy, you know. So it's important for anybody who's looking to get into business, whether it fits creatively or, you know, if you're left brain or right brain thinking, you need to have people in there that complement you. You can't just rely on yourself and just say, you know what, I can do everything by myself. Trust me, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You will not see the change. I've experienced more change in this month than I have been doing videography in 2 months, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years now, if we say the pandemic. Yeah, so 3 years. I've experienced more improvements, more scale, more clients, more the system of payment is so easy, and people, I'm like, wow, yeah, I can't complain. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I would say, you know, we both know we're just warming up. We're just coming out of the storm. We're
Yeah.
still transitioning away from, it's like bad technique. It takes a little while to drill out. You know, you have to unlearn before you can relearn something. And in this case, to add in some actual tangible examples, what stands out for me is one kind of boom light bulb moment was this enjoyable call I had with you, where we had come off the phone with a client and we went into a different direction of how we're going to process an invoice, right? And they're actually not even invoices. Invoices actually not the best of terms to describe it. They're more of like a pricing sheet, because a lot of people just want to know what the costs are, and they want as much detail. So what we provide here is clarity that isn't able to be transferred or communicated through words, through getting on a Zoom call. Zoom calls are really to build rapport, see if there's a fit, understand the vision, get some energy moving, and the rest comes down to writing. Everything in writing, black and white. And we talk about being on the same page. And this is one thing that I do with everyone that I work with is, if you're not on the same page, then you're not working on the same goal. You know, you might be working in a way where you think you're on the same page, but that's why problems come up. Well, I thought this. No, I was under the impression of this, and all this kind of baggage that you can't have that in a relay race. You can't have Usain Bolt in a Jamaican relay team running, and he's like, well, I thought I was the last leg. No, you're lost. You're out. The race is over. Business moves fast, and we need to be able to move with speed. And to do that, we all need to be on the same page. There can't be any weird stuff that gets in between of the business transactions. And it's very simple as a remedy to deal with that, which is let's write it all out, especially as a business or any relationship in general. There's a leader, there's a follower, right? Someone is leading, someone's following, and that can interchange. For a moment, someone can become the leader, and then the other person follows, and that's where you negotiate back and forth, back and forth. But you're finding a middle ground where it's fair exchange. What we've definitely implemented straight away is pricing structures. And I remember you specifically when we actually wrote it down, broke it down, because I have to ask you all the questions for me to understand your service. And we got it on paper. And then we priced it accordingly for what it was, doing a little bit of market research as well, rather than going from that sense of desperation that you talk about, like, please, please, like there's there's no more of this kind of begginess. There's like, because we're professional, because we're ready to work, because we can operate with speed, people will come towards us now because we've got the mental capacity to invite that in. We're not swamped with this other stuff. And you wrote it out. And I remember you said to you, wow, I can actually, this is, and I think it was probably one of the highest structures you had ever priced, because you had the opportunity to take your time and price it accordingly and justify it to yourself, because you were like, whoa, I am doing 30 things here. I'm doing a lot of work. This needs to be priced accordingly, not on a whim, guess the price and go, I hope this works. And then realize halfway through it, like, shit, I'm not getting paid enough for this. I'm already dried up. And even then, when you expend the energy in calls and texts and the back and forth, oh my God, money is about getting paid for what the headache is worth, because you'll do anything if you get the right payment, right? And I think most people would agree with that. If I said to you, right, I want you to walk from here to Switzerland, you'd be like, leave me alone. I said, I want you to walk from here to Switzerland and I'll give you 5 million. You go, easy, easy. Let me get my fucking bag ready, right? It's justifying the energy out with the energy in. And the energy in this case, is money and finance. And it's also getting to a level, Ash, wouldn't you agree, to get comfortable with talking about money, not beating around the bush with it, transparent. Because look at the biggest companies in the world, Amazon, right? Airbnb, restaurant chains, when you order food, there's nothing but a slipstream process and system there. You go up, Nando's, you show up, you pay before you get the food. Cool, paid, done. You don't mess around. There's no confusion. Everything's systemized and in place. And many people miss what's going on when they interact with these big businesses. And then they don't see why the problems are occurring in smaller, medium enterprise or businesses, because they're like not adopting the base principles of, are we on the same page? Can we agree to this price? This is how it's going to work, right? Nando's tell us. We don't go in and tell Nando's how it runs. They tell us. So when someone comes to One Studio or Wisdom Culture, we tell them. We lead and we negotiate with someone to make sure that, and this isn't to say that other people aren't happy. They're more than happy to go, oh, they know what they're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. And not only just service menus, contracts and agreement forms where everyone signs before we even, in the food game, I would say before I even buy an ingredient. For you, it's like before you even get your camera out, before you even like blow the dust off the lens, you're like, we need to be on the same page before I move. And you make that very clear in agreement form. So this, why I'm explaining this, is so the audience have an insight of the tools, like what utensils we actually use to navigate professionally. And I want to move it into this direction, Ash. So when we go into that level of professionalism, when we operate now at this higher level, what are you recognizing in the process that happens when you're, say, for example, when you're opening up your business to expand with staff members as you are? What are you recognizing now that is coming to you? I want to see if you can get this, but as a result of these things and these systems being implemented, you get a return of the most precious commodity. What have you been gifted as a result of these systems?
It's that is such a great question. Even whilst you were asking that question, even before you asked that question, I was thinking about this. Just to highlight this, right? So when we started implementing these systems in place, contracts, service menu, Zoom calls, checkups, quick and fast replies um, from our end. It was funny because most of our clients were clients that we had worked with in the past, and what tended to happen is that, especially now, is that we are finding that the clients who I had previously worked with, under the mentality of please give me work so I can pay my bills, they they were shocked and very much, yeah, they were shocked when things started happening like this. They were like, contracts, service menu, Zoom call. So it's like, whoa, who are you again? Like, and it's funny because they will, how you meet somebody is how you will end with them. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think in this sense, what I'm trying to say is how I met them is how they responded to me. So if I met them under the adage of, oh, I'm just an aspiring creative, I don't really want to be paid much, I don't really want to discuss money. Oh, I'll do it for £100 when my service is fucking worth 500, £600, £700, £1,000, 20 grand. You know what I mean? So it's like that level is when they start seeing the changes being made, where I'm now structuring the business with Charlie to say, okay, we've got something going here. Now we got something fucking solid here. It's like the reaction was like, oh, we don't necessarily want you to change. Please don't change on us, actually. We want you to be that person over there who wasn't concerned about money, who wasn't concerned about, please give us that. Don't give us this new person who's knowing what he's talking about, even talking about money and saying, hey, look, this is what I'm charging. And they're like, whoa, last time you were able to negotiate. Last time you only £100, £100. Now you're talking 5 times as much. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's one of the things that I have found, which is a blessing. It is a blessing when people do that, because, like we say, when you clear up the old, it leaves room now for new clients and new people to come in, and that's precisely what's been happening. Some of the clients that we used to work with before have bounced and said, no, we don't want to work with you. And said, no worries, we're here if you need us. And immediately new clients would come in out of the blue and said, hey, look, and they will respect our process. They will say, do you know what? You guys are so professional. And now that me and you are in the process now of hiring more staff members, it gets a lot more easier to then just to delegate certain things. So then I can now start having a clearer mind of, okay, how do I want this company to go? Okay, how can me and Charlie grow in each other's business? And how do we get more clients? How do we get more people on board with this whole One Studio Wisdom Culture relationship here? So it's, yeah, yeah. Hope that that has provided some insight there.
Definitely insight. The answer that I was thinking was, what it provide you with really is time, energy, focus, and attention, right?
But yeah, that was literally the last thing that I said. Like, for me, because that has allowed me now to start thinking, I'm not editing 24/7.
Mm.
I'm not editing, and that's such a weird thing for me, because it's like, whoa, I've got now this free time to really start thinking, okay, let me design this website. You know what I mean? So absolutely. it has provided a lot more time and energy.
Mm. And I loved how you used the example, because at the root of this is just relationships. If people really understand business, it's relationships.
Yes.
And when when you go through change with people that you know, friends, family, you go through change, they don't like it. Oh, you're
No.
not convenient to me. You're not
Mm.
convenient to me as you were. And this kind of weird kind of spiritual and mental psychological manipulation can come in. And
Mm.
it's very important to be aware of, because you get a real insight to see where people are truly at. And it teaches you that this business, and business I actually use also to describe life, because life is business. And people are ruthless, man. And this is where it starts to become more comprehensible to people, of like, why, when people are making like big money, why they're ruthless, why they won't have
Mm.
any sympathy for your garbage, because
Mm.
it's totally on you, and you're lacking the tools inside yourself to
100%.
actually grow yourself, and you're holding yourself back. And I
Can I
love
just
the
add? Can I
crucial.
just add to that, Charlie? That is so powerful because that was literally me. I think everybody has that point in their life where they say, look at this rich person. This rich person doesn't. He's ruthless. Doesn't give any of his money away. If I was that rich, I would give all that. You're like, now I'm kind of understanding the whole process. Oh, he's got family members. He doesn't give anything to his family and everything. He just hoards the money for himself. I was like, hold on, there's another perspective here. What if his family are always bugging him and pestering him about getting his money rather than actually spending quality time? What if him being ruthless is the only way he can get his point across because he knows what it's like to be taken advantage of?
Mm. It comes from experience, man. Wisdom is really experience applied. And the whole thing of what I try to do with wisdom culture is like my wisdom from life, past lives, fucking everything that comes through me, applied into a business capacity of, we're going to eliminate all this low level stuff. Anything that's going to prevent growth is gone. And we're going to do it in a way that's also it's set up in a way where it's not enjoyable.
Mm.
There's a journey, there's a fun to it, there's a stimulus, there's a process now that we go through. And it isn't what most people have come accustomed to. When someone comes in to help support, they start to try and get too many things in the way of the creator. In this case, you're the creator, right? You're the creative. I'm actually the opposite. I want to get out of the way of, and I talk directly, and this will help the audience also to understand how I work with people. It's like, you've got a thing, whatever that thing is, I'll help support that thing with a soil structure. I will nourish the ground in which you can grow. You are the seed. Normally, in your case, we talk about the clients being the flower, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I won't get in the way of what you do. I will only amplify and give you the space for you to do it.
Mm.
And what do we find now that with these new clients and a new space starts to come in? What we find is these people come to someone looking for a solution, because what they've experienced is, people never get back to me. They always let me down. They say they're going to do X and they never follow through. So these creators, musicians, artists, they never get to where they want to go because they don't work with a professional team. And
Mm.
when they come to us and we're providing all this, someone doesn't like it. Some previous versions of yourself aren't no longer there for people that depend on that. But
Mm.
these new people are like, oh my God, you're exactly what I've been looking for. You
Yes.
you are the people. Why doesn't everyone operate like you? And
Mm.
hopefully within the episode that we record, and we're coming to the back end of it now, so let's like sharpen and close this with some good speed. But hopefully
Mm.
what we've done is describe the process of being in the mud, which is what it feels like, where you're clumpy and you're not going anywhere. You're working really hard for sure. No disrespect to anyone that's really, really working,
Mm.
but you haven't got into a position in life where you're like, do you know what? Something really needs to change now. I am ready. And I say this to people a lot. and I say this to you, Ash, when we experience certain level of any areas of our work, some people aren't ready, and that's okay. They can come whenever they're ready. But there is a bunch of people that are ready and have long awaited professionalism, right? All the stuff, the business stuff that we could talk about, we're very professional. We operate with speed. We're very clear. We have a tremendous support. But really, what is it like, Ash? Give people an insight of what it's actually like when you just get on a Zoom call with us.
And do you know what? It's almost like if I was a client, if I was a client looking for the services that we are providing, I'd feel so at home with us. And that's just not me. That's just me being real. I mean, the Zoom call, because I'm more of the creative side, looking at it from that angle from there. Charlie's more of the business side, asking the clients analytical questions, and just trying to generally get to know them. Every client that we've had a Zoom call has said that this was a fantastic way of them getting their point across. And they felt like we've understood them at the end of each Zoom call. Whether or not if they want to continue to work with us, or if they're not ready to work with us, or they say absolutely yes, let's go. All of them have felt understood. We know exactly what they want. So that is a testament to the level of commitment that we have for these Zoom meetings. And those are one of to me, those are one of the best innovations that I've had in the One Studio side of just it's so simple. Instead of talking to them on text and voice notes and even on call, get to see somebody face to face. You know what I mean? Face to face, get to see them, ask questions, get a general vibe of everything. So absolutely would agree that those Zoom calls were much needed. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And, to kind of, because this is what it really comes down to. People that stumble across us online, and we on ourselves right now are working in the process to actually make sure our stuff is sharp to the point. We are operating at a level because it's easy to put more energy into clients than your actual own business. So we're transitioning into that now. We're going through it. But I would say this to anyone that's listening, anyone that's curious, whether you're interested in One Studio as a service for web development, photography, and videography, or you're interested in Wisdom Culture as a soil system to any business really that's, I'd say, earning under 500K a year, you are going to get an experience just by getting on a Zoom call and speaking to us, because there's a capacity of what happens in that room that doesn't exist anywhere else. And we are easy to talk to. We're there to understand. We're there to kind of ask these questions. And we're there to also provide, like, there's a nature of just learning from the Zoom call of what is there, what's available out there in the online world for you as a business owner, an artist, whatever it is that you're coming as in subject, that just by getting on a Zoom call, drastically, you're like, oh, wow, I don't get this with my friends. I don't get this with my family. I've been asked these really interesting questions that I've never thought about. I've actually had to self-reflect and go, maybe I'm not ready yet. Or I know what I need to do now to make the steps to move forward. I know why I haven't grown in the way that I wanted to. And the Zoom calls are absolutely free. You've got nothing to lose. At this stage, they are, right? As we're inundated, I'm sure we'll get to a point where it's like people want to get on a call with me and you, there'll be a service fee. But right now, capitalize on just showing up, book a Zoom call. You can find mine in my link, and you can find Nyasha's when we release. And hopefully by this time, we'll have the actual details in the description of this episode where you can find One Studio.
Yep.
We're going through security right now on the SSL. Is it the SSL?
Yes, SSL certificate. Just waiting for somebody to contact me for me to verify my details. Once that's done, One Studio will be launching. We'll be launching, and from there you'll be able to book a call on the site from there.
You best be ready. We're going through SSL, yeah? That, do you know what that means? I don't. But what I feel it is safety. I go onto the One Studio website, I feel safe. Like, oh, the SSL is there.
Yes.
Oh, these guys are
You're secure.
real. Yeah. And, let's just start to wrap this up now. I feel we are only just warming up. And this goes out to people that are maybe interested in the service, but this also goes out to, especially for me and Nyasha, over the next month, you're going to meet a lot of these people,
Mm.
but people that are working around me, they can get an insight from this episode, hopefully, of what I do. But they are also going through this process themselves. They're finding like, I've got to step my game up. I've got to do everything more professionally because we're realizing there's this generational wealth shift that's happening online, and anyone anywhere with the right resources and characteristics
I
can
think
open
it's
up a
a
company
double
now
up. Mm.
and start to make good money online. And the old way of doing things, of high street, walk into a shop, walk into an office, it's going, and
It's
it's
dying.
going fast.
Mm.
So now is the time. Do not wait around. Do not sleep, because by the time we get to even just 2 years from now,
Mm.
there's, and Ash, I tell you about these people all the time, but there's 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are earning ridiculous money.
Right.
And
On our ass.
doesn't it
You
motivate you though?
It does, man. It's like, yo, I need to step my game up. Otherwise, my clients are just gonna go to this 17-year-old boy who's got some AI technology that can do it simpler and easier. That's how
Yep.
competitive this shit is now.
Yep. Competition is a key word there, and I like the way you use that. Competition is a very healthy thing. You
Mm,
do competition with morals, integrity, and respect. You respect the other people that are hustling, making money, but that competitive edge is always there to be taken. And let me say this to close. Most people are operating in the most respectful way at a very, very basic average level. So if you can just do that little bit more,
mhm,
answer that little bit faster, if you can actually follow through with what you're saying, if you can actually implement some structure for people to understand you, you've got the edge.
mm,
But that's not going to happen for much longer. I'd say the next 2 years, this will be an industry standard. And if you're not integral, if you're not an actual, because there's a lot of that, there's a lot of imagery, people that look like they're doing really good. You get in a Zoom call with them. Oh, I actually don't like this guy.
mm.
Capitalize on it now, act now. And I will leave all the details in the description for people to get in touch. But Nyash, thank you. I'm glad we got to do this in this new way.
Said my name wrong. Nyasha.
Yeah, fucking. It took me ages to kind of practice Nyasha,
Yeah, yeah, you
Nyasha.
got it. You got it, man.
But
You got
sometimes I'm always saying like Ash or Nash. But really, Nyasha, is there anything else that you would like to close on, brother? And I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
No, that's it. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really do appreciate the fact that you asked me to come on here. Yeah, let's continue to work together. Let's keep and for anybody who's watched this episode, I hope you feel inspired to just keep going. If you are in the midst of making a decision to go full time, know that it is going to be the most rewarding thing that you could possibly do for yourself, but it will also come with some challenges. But you will feel like you want to quit. There will be moments that you would want to quit and give up and go back to, I'll say no, keep going, because literally the grass is greener on the other side. Freedom awaits, and that's what we all want.
There's grenades going off in my mind. Brother, thank you very much, man. I really enjoy working with you, and I'm looking forward to us smashing the rest of this year, man.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
There's been another episode with Chatting with Charlie. Until the next one, every Monday, 7 p.m. See you soon. Peace.